this live is based off again, you know, some of us who grew up in a household of addiction, as the child of addiction, and becoming, scared, having a lot of responsibility on self, you know what I mean? Can't say anything about it. You just have to do it. You got to look after the younger sisters and brothers if there is, or even being a person who was the only child. No matter how it is, that life is really hard and um, painful, and it causes mental health, stress. You know what I mean? It takes our kids, over the mulberry bush. Even my own, leaving them to tend to themselves. Having my oldest be the most responsible person in the household, leaving them by themselves. I know I did. A lot of us that's in addiction and active addiction with children, we do that, you know, um, as a child, and, for me, it was like I took a lot of their, my son's childhood, both of them, because they actually looked out for each other, and what I was doing was wrong, but what I was doing, I believed it was okay. You know what I mean? Because I felt like they were old enough, and then I'm talking about like a 9 and 8 year old kid, or, you know what I mean? It probably was younger than that, and um, as years went on and in my sobriety life, it took some time before we even really talked about it, me and my sons, and I hurt them. I really did. I hurt them, and I believe I had like 10 years in clean or more, before we even talked about it. I was getting, hey, Aisha, niece, I was getting offended by them because I was clean and I was doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Working every day as a parent and a mother, you know what I mean? Household is all right, doing the right things. And, I forgot about when I did those things to them. I apologize, but not the way they expected for an apology, and we still talk about some of it sometimes, Um, I felt like they didn't have the right to be mad anymore, when, you know, who am I? They are individuals, they are human beings, they were children, and I was the adult, I became an adult mother young, at 18, you know, and 19, still was a teenager myself. That's a lot of things we got to pay attention to too, y'all. We getting real strong with it now, though, not doing these things, but there's a whole lot of us that are still out there that are and has done it. We have to surrender to the things that we do, you know what I mean? Because getting clean is all a part of that. Changing your thinking and getting honest is all a part of that. And it's hard to go back to that because sometimes we could stop using, but we don't want to remember certain things. We don't want to talk about certain things, with our children, and not, thinking that our children remember stuff. You know what I mean? And they do, mine took me out. They remember things back when they was 4 years old. I would have never thought of that, So you can't underestimate a child, believe me, when they're around this type of environment, and it's like encouraging them that it's okay for them to do it too, get high and drink, because it all looks fun because we make it look fun. You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons how I picked it up, because it was all fun, but my boys was mad at me, really in their hearts for a long time, for some years. I mean, they never disrespect me, you know what I mean? Or never just like treated me like, my mom this, my mom that, but they hurt it inside. They were hurt as, those children, and I wasn't there at one time when I was there all the time, and then I let society and the streets, grab me, and once they grab you, it don't care who you got or what you got or how many kids you got, when your mind and disease is focused on one way, one thing, and you having fun, you know what I mean? It's slowly deteriorates your brain to the real reality of you have children. You know what I mean? What you're doing is not right, because I literally believed like it wasn't, it was okay. Like I trusted the kid instead of the kid trusting me as it should have been. Today I could speak on that very well and very clearly. Okay. Let me see if you came on again. I'm going to try to get her on here, y'all, because she has such... Oh, here you go. Invite. Okay. Add. It's adding. I think I did it. I think we did it. Hey, can you see us?
Hey.
Hey, can you see us? Can y'all see us?
Persistence is
My
everything.
face ain't a... Huh? Yeah, I
Persistence, girl.
see
I
you, girl.
buttons and like I was trying.
Can
Like, Lord,
everybody hear and see her? Let's give her some hearts. All right. You made it, girl. Let's give her some hearts. Give her applause, y'all.
we want to give you some hearts because I know what it's like to hold something and trying to keep your face, and you did that. Thank you.
You're
Hi,
so welcome. I'm
everybody.
hoping everybody can hear us. Let's make sure that they can hear us too.
Okay.
Can you guys hear us? Because I see you on my iPad, but I hear you from my phone. So I don't see
Okay. Hold
their
on.
names anymore. Yeah, here to go. I see them. Can
Yeah,
you
okay.
guys hear us? Hey, Norman, how you doing? Can y'all see us and hear us?
Hi, everybody.
Can y'all? Yeah, I see some hearts coming up.
Okay, I'm gonna shut one of my other gadgets down because the girl, I was all over the place. I was like, no way. This is
Hey,
supposed to go
Nettie,
down tonight. We're not
can you
doing
hear me,
this.
Nettie? See us?
Hi, everybody.
Okay, Rosetta said yes.
Good.
Kim saying yes. Okay, great. This is awesome.
It's amazing. God is good. God is amazing.
He's always amazing. Everybody, I'll finish off what I was saying, but what I was doing was definitely wrong. And the effect that it put on my children, I didn't get to know that really honestly and truthfully until they were grown, actually. You know what I mean? In their 20s. And when we did talk about it, we talked about it sincerely, it was really, it made me feel so bad. You know what I mean? Even though I felt like I should have got kudos because I got off of drugs and I was clean for a long time, and I was doing motherly things, working, I made a lot of meetings and stuff, so in that area it was damn if I do, damn if I don't, because it still kept me away from my kids, but I felt in my heart it was the good of it, but when we finally really talked about it, I mean, they had a lot to say. So if you are in recovery and you're dealing with this type of situation, you know what I mean? Talk to them. Talk to them. Can you still see me? Oh, well, it dropped some kind of way. I don't know how. That must be her thing she doing, but you know my son, they said one day that he was going to come on here and he was going to share about it, and I had one person talk about it a little bit, but we need more of that. We do. Even if you were a child of addiction, you know what I mean? Because I know my father was a brutal, alcoholic, and I grew up with a lot of us, and a lot of people who parents drank, you know what I mean? And that's all they did, in the household, laid back, drink. I mean, that affects us, affect some of us a whole lot, and even a mental thing, mentally, physically, it affects you, and you can't say nothing, you know what I mean? Then, but today you can live in your truth. You could talk about it. If it's something that's been, deep down in you for so long, there's nothing wrong with talking about it with somebody, because a lot of us pick that up, and we raised our kids that way. You still have some out here doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Some think because they home or, they work and this and that, you know what I mean? Alcohol is alcohol, which is poison, and so is dope. All that stuff is poison, and we have been raised to watch like it's okay, and being part of it. I was caught up in it. I really felt like it was okay, for me to do the things that I was doing. I don't know what happened to her, but I think with her cutting off, she said something, one of her equipments, it went off. But we're going to have a live one way or the other, hey, Eleanor, how you doing? You know, um, um, I felt really bad. I really did, when I was able to accept it. I had to share it with my sponsor, because I didn't feel like I owed them any explanation. But we do, y'all. We owe them an explanation. If they're grown and they're old enough to understand, we owe them an apology. We owe them an explanation for them to know the truth. That's just me. What works for me may not work for you, but I shared almost everything I can remember, with my children, even the ones that didn't live that life, with me, because I don't want the outside of society, the wicked rule society, and some people in your family and all kinds of stuff will keep bringing things up, and saying things, you know what I mean? I'd rather them hear straight from me, and they respect that more. You know what I mean? They really respect that, and that's all I could do. If they stay angry, give them time. Give them time to heal, just like you had to have time to get clean. You know what I mean? We have to give anybody, not just our children though, but moms and sisters and brothers and best friends, whomever you are close to, because they were victimized by us. You know what I mean? We are victimizers. We can't become the victim, and a lot of us feel that when we get clean, like, we were the victims. No, they were the victims. You know what I mean? We victimized them. We did some horrible things, terrible things, and things to you that you don't think that was too terrible. Because I didn't think a lot of things was too terrible, but they was, because they have emotions and feelings. You know what I mean? And they didn't quite understand how could I, you know, do that to them. I think you're gonna have to request to come back on again, hon. I'm quite sure that's what's gonna have to happen. You know, but you're gonna have to, I believe, request again to come on. I don't you came up requesting it, so I think we right back to the drawing board. So whatever you did before, do it again. I see people on here now that could talk about that, but it's a point, is a matter of if you are willing and you want to. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want to hurt, you know, my parents' feelings or my mom's feeling. Respect it. I understand that. You know what I mean? But your feelings was hurt too, to be on the real. And if you're dealing with these issues and you're dealing with these things, you need to get somebody that you could talk to, about it. And I respect the fact of because our parents are old now. You know what I mean? Some of us don't even have our parents, but I just pray, because I came up on a lot of stuff too. You know what I mean? And I didn't realize a lot of it until I was told, and how to dig deep within myself and just be honest and be real. But I have to accept things that's going to come up that's really going to, like blow my mind, like last week. I mean, my mind is still blown, but I'm trying to adjust to it, and deal with it so I can do, do whatever I can do for the situation, but I came through a lot of roads of hickeys and bumps. You know what I'm saying? And I just suppressed it. I didn't tell people. I didn't tell nobody. You know what I mean? I never even got a chance to really tell my mama. You know what I mean? But as tight as me and my mother became again, as mother and daughter, she was just my heart, my pride. You know what I mean? And I still, never told her the things that happened to me when I was younger. You know what I mean? But I told her everything about my adventure, in drug and alcohol, and out in the streets, all the things I was doing, because again, I didn't want my children, my mom, my loved ones to, hear about that, because out there the truth will never come back the truth. People will add, subtract, just keep adding and act like they was there, you know what I mean? And this and that and this and that, you know what I mean? I wanted them to hear it from me, because I felt better when I shared with them about the things that I was doing. I told friends, you know what I mean? My besties, I let them know, you know what I mean? And I could talk about it like it ain't, really nothing anymore, because I've accepted the things I can't change. I've changed the things I can. And today I have the wisdom to know the difference, And today I don't intend on, to have that drink or that drug anymore. I take it one day at a time. And this is how, the tools and the medication that I call tools was given to me, and trust me, it has been received. It has been received clearly. You know what I mean? I can see clearly now the rain is gone, by making choices and decisions, but sometimes we make these choices that become a nightmare, also, you know what I mean? And, thinking back so far, because you got to dig deep and really think back, you know what I mean? And sometimes, you can't think of everything. You can't get every little nooks and crannies, you know what? But God knows, you know what I mean? My higher power knows, and he's going to pull you through it. It's definitely going to pull you through it. You know what I mean? Because you can't fix what you don't know is broke, or how it got broken at times, back then, and, just within us like that, and sometimes, it can cause so much pain, you know what I mean? That disease is right there that'll set you up, you know what I mean? And take your thinking, you know what I mean? And throw some more of the pieces that you already fixed from the puzzle that's broken in your broke up brain, you know what I'm saying? And then it'll confuse it again, or it'll play with it a little bit, So, when it's just best to tell the truth, because the truth is going to set you free. And dig as deep and hard as you possibly can, you know what I mean? Because that's going to help you to find the truth. So, but you have to, like what I'm dealing with, I'm trying to, I'm past the shock of my situation, but I can only go think and get the answers in my head as far as it'll let me go. You know what I mean? So, it's like telling the truth is just gonna set you free. I don't care what the situation is, really. You know what I mean? The truth will set you free. You know what I mean? And because God see, hear, know it all. And another person, can look at you and still look at you as the lie. The lie that I also am in my addiction. That I created in me in my addiction. Well, I don't do what I used to do anymore, when I used to get high. You know what I mean? And some people are forgiven and some are not, But when you victimize people and you hurt people, even if it's just lying to them, even if it's just, whatever things you done, you know what I mean? Some people just won't forgive, you know what I mean? But it still can't stop me from living in my truth. It can't stop me from growing. I have to say, I have to live and let God. Even if it was my mom, if it was, my children, if it was, the auntie, if it was the people on the street, if it was my job, whomever it is, because at that particular point in me as a recovering person, it has to become selfish, and I have to learn to live on and let God, so that's what I learned how to do today. You know what I mean? But I've been very blessed, you know what I mean? And most of the people in my life, that I victimized back then, far as my knowledge, have forgiven me, or forgiven some of me, some of the things they don't. I take some of me, for $50. You hear what I'm saying? Then not, forgive and not accept any of me. I'm grateful for just that, because I caused the problem. I caused the situation, and I have to surrender and I have to know that. So this is why I'm saying that I victimize you all. You know what I mean? And I can't act as if I'm the victim. You know, and a lot of us do that, you know, especially when we're looking for help and we coming for help, you know, we become that victim. In your own mind and in your own self, you are a victim. You know what I mean? You're victimizing self as well. You know what I mean? You just don't know that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because like I said, the brain and the emotions don't communicate anymore. So you all messed up and screwed up. You know, and whatever the sickness tell you is what you're going to go by. Is how you're going to move on this situation. You know, that's what I learned. I learned in addiction. Um, uh, LC, I haven't been able to put you on or put you back on yet, but I apologize for this, y'all. I don't know what's going on with it. I know I was set and I was ready, and hopefully she'll come through anyway. She just came through. Whatever you disconnected, you must have disconnected the wrong thing because we were set and we were on, you know. But I have to keep the live going. I mean, how many of us, for the accountability, truth, and forgiveness? Thank God. This is her, y'all. She's gonna text through this some. Is that what you're doing? You know, but I really wish we can get you on this video. You know, keep trying, you know, and I'm gonna keep it going until you pop up again. You know, but um I know some of you who are in recovery can share on even what I was just saying. She said, thank God for accountability, truth, and forgiveness. Absolutely. You know, and I can discuss some of the things, you know, that you were sharing with me if you want to, you know, send comments through here too, but still work on that video because you see that it works. You know, so just request to be on again and let me push this thing again and see if I can get you on. Hey, hey, Dr. Lamia Chambers, my niece. You probably know exactly how to get her and tell me to get her back on this live, on this video, because I'm having a problem here, you know, but I think it's on her side. You know, hi, Deandra, how are you? Yeah, we have to um, uh, dig deep, real deep, you know what I mean, and find these things, you know, and just know I'm here to tell you that the deeper you dig, the more you're going to find, you know what I mean? And some of it is not nice. Some of it is not good, you know, since I've been clean and really into my recovery, you know what I mean? I'm still finding things out. I am still finding things out. And some is just like, Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I already know he got me. I know God got me, but it's the pain of it, you know, and the realization of it, you know, that I have had suppressed so long, you know, and some things I don't freaking remember. I do not remember. You follow? You know, and if something is brought to you from that past, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? I just don't remember that. You know, our brains is not in function, our brains is in dysfunction. You know what I mean? We can't think, you know, like I can think today. Back then, I thought like a sickness. I thought like disease had me think. It was get high, get my shit, and keep it moving. You know what I mean? As much as I tried to stop, I just couldn't stop because I didn't know how to stop. I thought stopping was just, okay, I quit. I'm not going to do this no more. It don't work like that. I didn't know all the things that I know now. I didn't have all the tools that I have now. You feel me? But I could feel everything that was being taught to me, and it was all in my truth. You know, it was just up for me to surrender to it. You know, and getting past some of that pain and some of that shame, you know, and some of that disappointment, you know, and some of that embarrassment, you know what I mean, wasn't easy. You know, I didn't want to have to say I did this or I did that or this happened in my life or that happened in my life. You know what I mean? You know, I wasn't making myself say I was a bad mommy. You know what I mean? To me, I was not a bad mommy. You know, I just did what I did, you know, and that don't even make sense or sound good, you know, but that's how I felt with my face, just like this. You know, I ain't do nothing all that bad. Well, that was bad. Today, I know it was bad. Back then, I was dead serious. I mean, dead serious. And didn't like you saying nothing to me about it. You know what I mean? That's your opinion. It wasn't mine. That was your opinion. You know, my kids ain't dead. I used to say shit like that. They know how to take care of themselves. I don't leave them for that long. Shit, sometimes it was 2, 3 days. I didn't even realize it. You follow what I'm saying? So when I had come to with all of that, nah, you was gone. I came and took those kids, or they walked to my mom's house, or to the neighbor's house across the street. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, because they was all watching anyway, and they was all knowing that I would do this type of thing. You know what I mean? And you know what that did to me? That enabled me even more. It made me say, "Oh shit, somebody gonna go get them. Somebody gonna get them." You know what I mean? They'll come. They'll come get them. Somebody gonna call my mom or call Children's and Youth on me. You know, and they call Children's Youth on me all the time. And just for the grace of God, I was home. I was home every time they came, and of course I lied. Of course I'm a lie. You know what I mean? Because we liars. And look innocent as shit. You couldn't tell them that I was out there doing what I was doing and left them kids in the house by themselves. And I knew the cops. Most of the cops, I got high with most of them. You know what I mean? They used to come to my house anyway. The cops, all that, lawyers, all that. You know what I mean? Oh, so many people that get high and wear these masks. You know what I mean? But do it functionally, and keep it going for what they're doing. But some of them don't. Some of them crack. And we know a lot of them who's cracked so far. You know what I'm saying? But at the time, we wear masks. We don't want to act as if we addicted, or messed up off of drugs. You know what I'm saying? Drinking get a little bit more respect. Ain't that some shit? Drinking kill you just as quick as drugs kill you. You know what I'm saying? And flip you just as faster than drugs, do the thing. You know what I'm saying? They say drinking it has a score basically like 98% more than the average drug. Alcohol take you down so fast and so quick, and it deteriorates your insides, and your membrane, your cells and everything so fast and so quick. Y'all can look that up. You know what I mean? That's how I found the real deal, because, today being in drug and alcohol, some of these things that I have to know, you know what I mean? But they change it all the time. You know what I'm saying? But, alcohol was more of a respected drug, because I call it all drugs because it is. It has the same disease and is cunning, baffling, and powerful, and it kills. It kills, and it's painful without it when you are addicted to it, just like heroin, just like cocaine, just like meth or anything else. And all of it has its own, DTs. You know what I mean? But in my heart, I did not lose love for my children. You know what I mean? Or the people around me. I just couldn't act as if I loved them. From the actions that I was taking and the things that I was doing didn't show like I love anybody but drugs. That's the impression that disease let you see, but it don't let us as the addicts see. You know what I mean? And don't let us with the feelings feel that. Because again, like I said, with disease that's cunning, baffling, and powerful, it takes your emotions first. So as a mother, I didn't think that I was doing anything wrong to my kids. I knew somebody would probably come get them. I knew my son knew how to walk to my mom's house. And when I lived underneath my mom, that was just to me like I was just in another room. You know what I mean? And it was wrong. Still, it was wrong. Anything could have happened. But for the grace of God, it did not. But what was happening was the pain that was in those children. You know what I mean? The disappointment that came with that, with those children that I did not see or I did not feel. Because like again, my head was all over the place. The puzzle is just broken all up all over the place. Kiana, hey girl, I see you on here. I have another situation with this video. Now she came through my speaker and I got her on. My part was ready. I don't know what she did. Maybe she can text it and what she did, but she went off when she unplugged or did something. So I'm trying to get her back on, but I also have to keep the live going. So if you can uh, uh, send me that message again on how we did that the last time when you brought me home, when you were home and we had the after party. I'll never forget that. And we had the after party. What did you do to get me on your live? You just requested me, right? Just comment on it for me, please. But yeah, you know, these type of things is what goes on in our minds because our minds is not functioning. It's not functioning properly. It's functioning off of poison, and it's function of like you in a trance. Like, you know what I mean? Because we walking dead anyway, you know, especially the ones of us that beat it up, bruise it up, you know what I mean, and just got high constantly every day. You know what I mean? Smoking that coke, you know, shooting that meth, you know, shooting heroin, every day, all day. Your body becomes adjusted to that, and it doesn't know anything else about vitamins, irons, minerals, and food. It don't even know anything about going to the bathroom. You know what I mean? A lot of people on these things can't even go to the bathroom. You know, once they try to get help, and all that's painful. It is hard, horse pain. You know what I mean? And it will turn your mind around to want to, you know, try to fight this and get clean. I'd rather go take a hit than take all this pain. You know what I mean? And I'm talking physical pain is really bad. You know, with opioids and stuff is really really bad. You know what I mean? So thinking what? Shoot, I'm thinking about getting this done. I know how to fix it. You know what I mean? All I got to do is go to my homie, you know, disease, and just take another hit, and I'm gonna be okay. You know what I mean? This is how crazy psychotic that thing is, and how it makes us think, and how it makes us believe, and forces us to use. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it takes your mind, it takes your soul, it takes your body, it takes your emotion, it takes your thinking. You know what I mean? And it makes you feed it. You know, and these are the things and the ways, and I'm telling you how it makes you feed. It make you forget about kids. You know, once they, you know, my kids was in the right hands, and my mom had my kids. You know what I mean? That just allowed me to run more and more and more and more and more because you know they okay now. So I wasn't okay. I still had to feed the sickness that I knew nothing about. I just knew that I was out there and I wasn't ready to stop. That's what it do. It like put this thing in your head, and you just don't be ready to stop. You just don't want to stop, no matter how hard it is. You know what I mean? What you got to do to get it. You know, it's just like it's crazy in a trance. It's like being a zombie, and the only voice you hear is sickness. Only voice you hear is disease. You know what I mean? That thing is cunning, baffling, and powerful. That thing is vicious. You know, and I'm hoping y'all hear me, and I'm helping you to understand how we work. You know what I mean? I hope what I'm saying can actually have you visualize some of these things in your loved ones. You know what I mean? Or even to see it coming. You know, because you're not going to get high every day, and this thing is not going to catch you. It's going to catch you one way or the other. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, you know, that you're going to just jump right into being a hoe, you know, or jump right into, you know, leaving your kids. But even before drugs, I left my damn kids. You know what I mean? Before I got on the cocaine, you know, society was that magnetic freaking disease. You know, like I said, that started and caused a lot of my sickness. I could say that for me. I don't know about for anybody else, but I do know it's cunning, baffling, and powerful out there. And I do know that I've had to keep standards, you know what I mean, and build standards to be somebody. You know what I mean? Today I am somebody. You follow what I'm saying? And my name is Tracy Allen Williams. You follow? And I love this girl. You know, I really appreciate this girl. And I actually appreciate Trey Trey for helping me find Tracy. You know what I mean? And Trey Trey is just my sickness. It's in remission. You know what I mean? I went through these things to become, and now I've become who I am today, regardless to who knows or, you know, who done this. I found serenity and uh, I surrendered to my children and all my loved ones. I shared my story with them. I let them know everything. And if there's any questions, I'll tell you what I can tell you. And like I said, I feel good. You know, I feel like I cleansed my soul, you know, and cleansed my soul. And here you go. Something else always popping up. You know, things you least expect because it just goes on and on and on and on. So the digging is always going to be dug. You know what I mean? You got to dig it up, and you got to deal and face these situations, you know, because well, I'm telling you, we done some things we just don't remember a lot of these things. You know what I mean? That some people can bring to you, you know, and say, you know, when you know that your heart is set where it's at, you know, and felt like, no, that didn't happen. This wasn't it. No, this is how it happened. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to just, you know, live and let God and just think. You know what I mean? But you can't think your brains out, to a point where it start bothering you physically. You know what I'm saying? Because that keeps a door open for sickness. It allows sickness to creep right on in. You know what I mean? Because it works on the anger. I told y'all. You know what I mean? The disappointments, the hurts, the pain. The things that you have to face. It'll try to sunk you right back in. Physically, mentally, or spiritually. And it's hard getting here. It's hard getting to a point where you are okay with yourself, and that life is showing you beautiful things, and you living life on life terms, one day at a time. You have to crawl before walking to get to this point. But disease is always there. It always sit in the cut. I don't care how deep we got it in remission, but that thing is vicious. That thing will come through you through mom, dad, children, streets, work, just sitting here. It's just there. It's there and it's alive. You know what I mean? It's just suppressed itself right now. You know what I mean? Because I handle it with one word, two letters, one syllable, and that's know. And that's having the wisdom to know the difference in how it works, for me. So my battle is always on. You know what I mean? I know it's going to be for the rest of my life. But I thank God that me and my children found our peace, with my addiction. You know what I mean? And it's nothing that they can't ask me. You know what I mean? Even if it's going to hurt me. You know what I mean? Because I'm built for that, and I'm trying to be as honest as I possibly can today, because we become liars, vicious liars. I share that throughout some of these segments. You know what I mean? We tell one lie, then we tell another lie, then we tell another lie, then we believe the lie, we become the lie, and we'll fight for the lie. You know what I mean? So we just walking freaking liars. You know what I mean? And at the same time, memory is just getting chewed all up and eaten all up by disease. So we can't think. You know what I mean? We can't tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? We can't do what we supposed to do. This thing is cunning, baffling, and powerful. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful. And the day I can't stand it, I hate it. And anything that pops up in me through this thing, you know what I mean? I got to really, really, really rationalize with it, and make the good choices and decisions with things. I got to think about stuff. You know what I mean? Today I learned how to think before I react. And sometimes disease will hit something and smack you with something that your react is getting ready to come. You know what I mean? But you know what? Your inner self, your soul, you know what I mean? And that peace that you have will calm you down, and have you think about making a decision first before just reacting. And I work on that all the time. I work on that every day. You know what I mean? Even if I got to live and let God and let people go. You know what I mean? Until I do work on it. You know what I mean? Until I do come to, the decision of my choice, and whether or not I'm going to accept, receive, or reject and let it go. I have to really think about, things like that, because I don't want to slip. I don't want to go back to old self. I want to keep building and rebuilding and accept the old self and what I did. You know what I mean? I've surrendered to that, and I want to keep growing, and keep growing. And I want to be the best mom. I do. I want to be the best grandmom. I do. I don't do a lot of things that other grandmoms do. You know what I mean? Well, that's them, and this is me. You know what I mean? But I love each and every freaking one of everybody in my family, from nieces, nephews, cousins, aunts, uncle, them all. You know what I mean? And how we act and how we be with each other. Sometimes, hey, got to figure it out. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm open. Just like with my kids. That feelings that things I did hurt them didn't go away right away. That thing took years. It took years, and I had to accept that, and I couldn't be mad. You know what I mean? But I can be aware. You know what I mean? And I can stand tall with it. And I'm not going to let them, look at me as the monster. I wanted them to understand where the monster came from and how the monster exists. And the monster still exists. You know what I mean? I just won't allow the monster to do what it used to do to me no more. For as long as I say one word, two letters, one syllable, no, and not drinking drug. You follow? Not drinking drug, because I know that's what turns me out. And I'm not healing. I'll be peeling. You know what I'm saying? Are you on here still, LC? not seeing anything. I'm watching the screen, but I'm waiting for her to pop up or just join on in. We're going to have to do it one way or the other, but I don't want to keep everybody on here on time and just keep playing with the phones and all this stuff. I'm gonna let y'all know I don't like this video thing. I really don't, because I'm not video person. You know what I mean? But I know how to do it, and I'm for sure that I know how to do it on my behalf. Anymore. But hey Tracy, how you doing? Hey Mark, what's up, my friend? And Melvin, how you doing? Yeah. I'm here, love. We can do it another time. Keep going. Hey sis, how you doing? Y'all know me. I'm full of it. I'm loaded, fully loaded. You know what I mean? But I want to see. Hold on, just one more thing. See if your name is on here again, and I could pop you on. Nah, I don't see it. I think if you put in for it again, we probably can get you on. Hey Danielle, how you doing, niece? I ain't seen you in a minute. You said Braden doing the waves, platinum of it was hair. Auntie was on it. Yeah, girl, I went back long here. I'm kind of feeling this. I ain't got to do nothing to it. I like this, But um, hey, Aleem, how you doing, nephew? Anybody that has any questions on that, on a, on a child and anything I was just talking about, please ask. You know what I mean? Ask me what I did, how I done it. How did I feel? Ask me any kind of questions. I know it should be some questions. You know what I'm saying? Um, is it anybody in your household that has experienced this, or is it you dealing with your children? With this, like I said, there's no shame to the game. Learning and being on here is only going to help the game. You know what I mean? It's going to help you help yourself. Because that's where it starts first anyway. You have to learn how to help yourself and get honest with yourself. Hey Sheila, how you doing? You know, um, Renee, um, I just I just don't have a problem anymore with sharing, the things that I've experienced in my active addiction. If so, don't be ashamed, please. I'm not going to be ashamed. You know what I mean? Things happen. Look, it's God's will. It'll happen. Maybe I can, if I got to come get you to sit on this couch, I'll do just that. You follow what I'm saying? I'm just not suave with the video, but I know that I know how to do it. I think you're having the same problem that I had when I first started, trying to do it. But I appreciate you. I appreciate you wanting to come. I kind of got people lined up a little bit, but we'll get you back on. But share what you want to share, on this live too. I mean, you can still say some things that you were going to say even if you was on this video. You know what I mean? We're gonna let the devil stop it, not when we could keep it going. We're gonna keep on moving, Yeah, love the gold. What's that, HUD? Love the gold, girl. I'm in my dressing room today. So when I'm done, I'm gonna hit right over there to that room and chill. I told him I could set this thing up anywhere I want to set it up, long as the live happen, but yeah, I mean, a lot of us like, feel like I'm not gonna put my business out on the street, and I have no problem with that. Just for me, I'm just, able to share it, and say what I need to say, because my truth is my light. You know what I mean? And I've been lifted very lightly. Tracy Dale Williams, we almost got the same name, Tracy. What are you saying? You're saying, I thank you for sharing. I'm a nurse, and you're teaching me how to reach out, listen, and help those in need. Thank you. Appreciate that. And a lot of us in that, I mean, you all in that field should know a lot of this, because I'm quite sure y'all get a lot of patients that come in there that be all messed up. You know what I mean? And all confused, and some can be rowdy, some can be rough, you know what I mean? Some can be rude, some can be ignorant, you know what I mean? Believe me, they in pain. they in pain. When they come to that hospital, that mean they hurting. They in pain, believe me. And that pain is crazy. That pain, and it's like disease, you know when to push it on more and harder when it get us around places that can help us. You know what I mean? But once you give us until you give us what we need or what we want, that's where the problem comes in at. You know, they can't hear you. You know what I mean? So they can't listen to you because disease is in control. You know, it won't allow them to hear what you're saying. It only allows us to feel the pain and help me, help me, help me. I need to get this pain away. And LC is saying, I would say that God has used your truth to get me to face my denial. I spoke with a treatment center and making arrangements to go get it. Thank God and you for being obedient. You know, let me say this to you. I share. I talk. You know what I mean? I talk what I know. I talk my experiences and I talk about my experiences and my hopes. You know what I mean? And you're doing this. You know what I mean? I will take nobody's blessings. You know what I mean? And don't ever let anybody take yours. When you make decisions to do this, and or even if somebody is going into treatment or somebody is surrendering, you know, that is all you. That's you and your higher power. You know what I mean? Even if you haven't recognizing that, I know you recognize God. You're vicious with that, LC. You know what I mean? But, you know, some things we have to do ourselves, you know, when we dig into our truths. You know what I'm saying? All I did was talk. All I did was share mine. You watch me every week. You know what I'm saying? And I just keep sharing and sharing and sharing. And the people that comes on here keep sharing, sharing and sharing. And this is how we connect and this is how we help people. Thank you. Thank you for being on here. I can care less about the video at this point. I thank you for being on here. You know, just saying what you said. You know, Miss Rosetta, I don't want to miss you this week. You know what I mean? Because I know last week I missed a couple. I always go on a replay of this, and I missed a couple of things that you were asking. You said, how do you help someone that keeps running? They know they need help, but said they're not ready. They're not. They're not. And guess what? You can't help them. They have to help themselves. They have to come to what we call a rock bottom. That's what we used to call it, a rock bottom. Some of us still do. When you hear rock bottom, that's old school. That's a lot of them like my age and back. You know what I mean? We call it rock bottom. They just haven't been beat up enough. They scared of the pain. They scared of the circumstances of everything that they've been doing. They can't stop until they want to stop. You know, this is a want. We have to want to do this, you know, and sickness is fighting them, you know, and hurting them with the pain from all of this that they can't make that decision to surrender. You know, some of us are being enabled. I hope you're not enabling this person. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you have to let them go, but love them and care about them. I know we don't want to see our people, you know, you know, out in the street or you know, go get hurt, but it's nothing that you can do. You know, this is a self thing and we have to want it. Nobody could tell me nothing until I was ready to get better. I was ready to get sober. And it was hard as heck to do that. You know what I mean? It took me a while. I mean, when my mom shut the door on me and wouldn't let me in that house, that was my rock bottom. Believe me, it was. And my pride, you know, and my embarrassment was like, well, I ain't coming back. She told me she wasn't giving me them kids either until I get myself together and don't come back to her house. Because my mother didn't want to watch me deteriorate anymore. I was 82 and a half pounds. You follow what I'm saying? I came there to eat, sleep, get up, and go back on the street. That's what I did, you know, and my mother did not want to see me do that. But you wouldn't say nothing to me until it got that bad, you know, but she was my enabler for some time, you know, till she got sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, that's how it works for me. I know that's how it works for all of us. You know, the person just have to want it. You know, don't let them go or let them down. You know what I mean? Let them eat. You know what I'm saying? For you know, for some of us, let them sleep. You know, don't buy it for them. Don't have it in your home. You know what I mean? You have to eliminate all of it from them. You know, and sometimes we have to let them go. You know, I see you saying something about not at all. Um, it say it's okay, sis. This is uh LC. Say Rosa, I got your question again. Wait a minute. Miss Rosette, I think you said something else. You said not at all, meaning not at all at what? That you're not enabling them. You know, because there's so many things on here. It goes past me, and I got to go back to find it. Rosette, you said not an enabler. God bless you. Good. You know, I hope you're getting a lot off this this live here too. You know, to help you stay on top of it. You know what I mean, on how to deal with it. Have that person watch this live if you can. You know what I'm saying? Have them watch it and see if you know they can catch it that way. They don't always. We don't always get it from the loved ones. You know what I mean? Sometimes we got to get it from other people or somewhere else. You know, it works that way too. You know, because something disease make us think that the ones that love us is our enemies. You know what I mean? And you just trying to break me down, or you trying to make me look like I'm this and I'm that, and you don't care about me. We good at that game. You know what I mean? And a lot of us sometimes are aware of the situation. We just want to get high. You know, we don't want to stop. We just want to get high. You know, so no matter how many times you say, you know, you got to stop, you need to stop, and this and that. It ain't going to happen until they're ready. It's not going to happen until they're ready. That's a fact. You know, author visionaries, yes, don't enable, but still love. Absolutely. This is why I'm on here. So you guys can know and understand the functioning of an addict or an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Drinking, they, you know what? Drinking, sometimes, you know, people let you stay at their house. People let you be there because they say, well, drinking is all right. No, it's not. No, it's not all right. Do drinking have you going out stealing? You know, you probably don't know, but some do. You know what I mean? It depends on the individual. The drinking have you doing some of the things that drug addicts do. Hey, look, ain't none of it's good. I don't care what they do. What they doing is bad, is drinking and drugging. You know what I mean? It's suicide. They killing themselves. You know what I'm saying? They killing themselves. Like I said, the functional addict, you know, and the functional alcoholic. I mean, hey, it may take, you know, a little calm control, you know, they think they have when they're getting high, but the drug itself is doing what it do. It's doing what it do to the way it does it to all of us. You know, every time you put it and inject it in your body. You know what I mean? But it'll make you think that you can handle it and you doing this, but when it comes time to use that liver, the kidneys, you know, and all that kind of stuff, now you got problems. You follow what I'm saying? You know, so I'm not saying for everybody, but I am saying for most of everybody. Trust that, you know. And I'm not a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. I must say that. You know what I mean? I'm just a grateful recovering addict, you know, that works with still suffering and works with recovering, you know what I mean, and share these stories and share these battles and have been through these battles. This is why we all get together so we'll know how to answer you and to help you with questions that you may have. And some of you see this already. You know what I mean? You see it already. You know, you live with it already. You know, it's not okay. It's not okay at all coming from me. You know, it says, LC said, thank God she was able to care for your children. My grandfather did the same. You know, I put my mom in a situation where she was a second time around mom. Quite a few of my brothers and sisters and us did that. You know what I mean? She really didn't deserve that. You know, she deserved to have her life and live her life. You know what I mean? But we stunted her growth as well. You know what I'm saying? I look at it that way too. You know, and for some of you that have your children, your grandchildren, or your nieces and nephews, or the girl's child down a group, and you done already, you know, been through your stages of life to enjoy your life. You know, I call it, you know, the second time around mom. You know what I mean? She did her job. She did what she had to do, and I put all that responsibility back on her all over again. And she loved me that much that she took that responsibility. You follow? And most of us do. Most of us do. You know. And Melvin Carter, you're saying got to go to work. All right, thanks for being on. But Miss Rosetta, I appreciate your questions. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Your questions is going to help somebody else. That's what this thing do. It's going to help somebody else. And I thank you for that. I really thank you for that. You know, they don't want to be around us, keep running away. Absolutely. They don't want you to see them. Some of us, we don't want you to see us like that at times. Like I never wanted my sons to really see me when I was lit. You know what I mean? I was glad, when my mom took my kids, I was toe up from the flow up. You hear what I'm saying? Out there doing all kinds of things, I didn't want my kids to see that, but guess what? They already saw me deteriorate. I didn't think they did. You know what I mean? But they already saw it. They already knew I was on drugs. They already knew, the things that I was doing. I just didn't know that they knew, because I called myself hiding it. I called myself not doing it around them. You follow what I'm saying? And all the time, they seen it. They seen me when I was on my worst. They seen me when I couldn't get up. They seen me when I couldn't go to sleep. They seen me when I couldn't do nothing in the house. They made me oodles of noodles. They opened up cans of, remember little cans of spaghetti and beefaronis and raviolis and all that kind of stuff. They took care of me. They fed me. I tell them, go make your brother a sandwich and make me one too. Huh. Okay. Yes. Rachel Carson. Hey, how you doing? Yes, I had to let my niece go last year, and it haunted me to let her go. It's a scary thing. It really is. It's a scary thing. It's like a choice. Do I let them stay here and I watch them die, or do I let them go? You know what I mean? And then can't find them in the world. It's a scary thing. Disease is a beast. This is why I'm saying it works through people, places, and things. My suggestion to that, it's your choice to how you want to deal with it and the way that you want to deal with it. But know that there's a higher power greater than yourself. You understand? That got us. You know what I mean? That got us. And he's going to have you because he knows your heart. You know what I mean? God knows our heart. I believe that today. You know what I mean? I feel that today, and I trust in that. And Elsie is saying, you're right. Our children know when something is off with us. You are one of those children. You know what I'm saying? You're one of those children. It was the purpose of you being on this live tonight. So we got to do a remix of this. You know what I mean? So you could share your strength and hopes and your life, with it. You know what I mean? You're so welcome, Miss Rosetta. You're so welcome. They need to hear your story. They need to hear your story. Your story is so important. I mean, it sparked chills all through my body when you and I was talking about that. And then we found out a lot of whom and some people that we had in common. You know what I mean? God is good. I'm telling you, he knows how to connect. He will connect us. He will connect all of us. This is why we have recovering addicts, today. This is why we have people who, love working with us. Some can't stand working with us. You know what I mean? This is why we have people who care and share, people who have that, that heart and that honesty within them today that they can share their stories, and help people, just like they're saying to me, right now. I also thank you. I thank all of you, Miss Rosette. I thank all of y'all. You know what I mean? Because just by y'all keeping me on my P's and Q's, you allow me to know that this works if you work it. And this is what they told me. You don't stop because you feel good. You don't stop because you've been clean for years and a long time. I got a lot of years in on this thing. You know what I mean? But I really only have one day, as we all do. And it didn't take me to get better right away. It took one day at a time. And like I said, that day became a week. The week became a month, and the months became a year. You know what I mean? But in that day, it starts with a second, becomes a minute, then an hour, then a day. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm just to adjust it. I learned how to adjust to that type of life, and lifestyle because of my sickness. That's my medication, and I have to take it every single day till the day that I die. So it's all coming to believe in, everything I'm saying. And I hadn't mentioned the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous in a while, because sometimes the conversations just, go there depending on what we're talking about. and I don't want to rush nothing. I want to try to get out everything and that I know, that I can help you. So by you cooperating with me, like tonight, Miss Rosetta would allow me to, give you real good positive feedbacks to your nature, to what you need. You know what I'm saying? And that goes for everybody that's on here. I love you too, niece. I really do. Hey Donald, how are you? You know, so if you're in recovery, I mean, share, y'all. I mean, put some good stuff on here for people. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody judging you. Ain't nobody judging nobody no more. And if they are, hey, this too shall pass. You follow? You're doing a great job. You're doing a great thing. You're helping somebody who's helpless. Okay, here's LC. LC is saying, um, finally started letting her. Oh, is this is? Wait a minute. This is about your mom. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can get that on here. You know. Thank y'all. Y'all, I tell you, y'all great help to me. I tell you, girl, Stacy, you ain't got to tell me, girl. Technology, me and technology just don't get along. You know what I mean? But what I do love is live, right on the couch. That couch that I put on live for y'all downstairs. I love for you to come in and I love for you to sit. It just feels so more natural to me. You know what I mean? Than to be watching it on, another person on video, but I'll take video too. You know what I'm saying? Just to get this message out and these words out, I'll take the video too. It'll get better. I know it's a whole year, y'all. Hopefully by the year reunion, I may have this down just a little bit more. But I'm really thinking about, honestly, y'all, going podcasts with it. That way I can be filmed. You know what I mean? And don't have to do all these things. They were telling me that it's really going to be not too much of any difference. So I'm going to give it a try, a couple sessions, and see how it works out and see how I like it. If it takes all this nonsense away from me, I'm for it. I'm with every minute of it. Um, um, hey, LJ, Nikki, how are you? Just want to run past some of the names and let you guys know that I acknowledge you. You know what I mean? And I know you there, and I appreciate you being there. Um, Roxanne, I still have to talk to you about the 1 year anniversary. Just to let you know that, because it's coming fast. Thanks, Look, thanks, Rosetta. You even knew how to do it. You even knew how to do it. Plus, I like my live to be live. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be like a class or something like that. You know what I mean? I just feel comfortable. I'm not ashamed of nothing that happens on this thing or what it do. You know what I mean? Because I just get all love and all, kudos about just doing it. You know what I'm saying? We getting words across, we getting messages across. We all learning something. I let you know the real deal. I'm definitely not a techie. You know what I'm saying? But I do love, recovery, and I do love, soldiering, for my higher power, to spread this word and keep this word going, so I mean, long as that is happening, regardless of the techies. Well, I even gave up that thing with the daggone, you get paid with Facebook. I don't even care about all of that. I really don't. You know what I mean? What I care about is what's happening right now. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing free, y'all. Nothing is free. So you're going to pay to even get paid. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of nooks and crannies to that stuff, and I don't have the patience for it. You know what I mean? So I'm really not interested, but um, yeah, I mean, I only know how to be real anymore today. Some people, like I said, some people don't see the realness in me. Some people still look at me like a lie, but I don't give two darns. I don't care about that. You know what I mean? Because I know, and God knows, and I don't answer to nobody but Him. I know how to put my trust in Him. You know what I'm saying? I know how to, love Him and know somebody loves me unconditionally. Overall. I put a lot of work into this, Tracy. You know what I mean? And I'm in love with her. And I'm loving her more and more and more every freaking day. You know what I mean? Even when my down times is down, God picks me right back up. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's just for the moment. He lets me know he's there. You know what I mean? You gonna take care of this. I got you. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? And that's what I do. I learn and know what y'all mean by, you got to give it to me, because you do, and it may not happen for you right away, but it happens because you covered. You know what I mean? I love this. I really do. I love this. You know, I love it. I'm glad that I'm learning more and more, about our Father. I'm glad I have that conscious contact with Him, just for myself, and can't nobody else get in it. You know what I mean? That's the best part about it. That's the greatest part about it. You know what I'm saying? I know that He all over me, just like He is you, but that's with you. You know what I mean? Or the next person or the next person. I surely know that I'm in there. You know what I mean? With me and His contact. You know what I mean? And I'm safe and I feel safe, and I know how to give it to Him. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just wait for the blessings. I'll wait for, what He has for me, and how I have to deal with things, you know. But it's a beautiful life and it's a beautiful me. It's a beautiful me. I can look in the mirror today and see beauty. I can look in the mirror today and see honesty. I can look in the mirror today and love what I see. Not only love what I see, but feel the love for what I see through me, through the mirror, through the mirror. How many of us do that? You know what I mean? Let me know. Show me some hearts. Let me know if you love you. You know what I mean? If there's something in the middle, in the way of that, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's try to help each other and find a solution. Some kind of way to help each other. This is what we on here for. This is what I'm on here for. Like I said, it's family to me on this thing. You know what I mean? People be on listening. Some people pop on and some people pop off. But a lot of you on and be looking forward to it every Wednesday, as I do. And who I soldier for is my higher power, and He only makes that happen. So job well done, Tracy. Job well done. Not only in being a selfish, recovering person for myself, you know what I mean, but being selfish to give all of what I got to you. You follow what I'm saying? So it's a beautiful thing in the life that I live in to be selfish. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. And I don't mean the selfish, okay, they could do their own thing. Nah, no, I'm a soldier this. I'm a soldier this, and I love soldiering it. You know what I mean? Regardless of what anybody say or what they think, I got a lot of love, that turns up every Wednesday. You know what I mean? I'll be out sometimes, or I see people, and you know what they be saying? Good job, keep watching, don't stop. You know what I mean? So I know that people are watching. I know by these numbers that people all over the world is watching. You know what I mean? And thank God they are. Thank God that this thing is being spreaded. Thank God that people are getting in touch with themselves. You know what I mean? I don't care about no video messing up. Not for real. Long as I get you back on the screen. You follow? And yo, I'm telling you, if anything ever happened and it messed up, believe me, I'm going to go all off and start all over again. That's how it works for me. I'm going to start all over again. And however many comes on, is going to come. Any going to go off, they're going to go off. But I know you got something the first time. You know what I'm saying? So, LC, we're going to get this thing and we're going to do this thing again. You know what I mean? I'm not, I think it was a beautiful live, and people have shared, and Miss Rosette, thank you so much for the questions, and everything, and your honest questions and honest answers that you was giving yourself. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go through here and look at some names. I just want to let everybody know that I do recognize you. Daughter-in-law, thank you too. Sonia, that's my daughter-in-law. My sister is always there. Roxy, always there. Love you. Cynthia, so let me tell you, we outside, girl. We outside. That is my sister forever. We always been, sister friends, and we're going to always be. You know what I mean? I love it. And I love you for respecting the fact of, finding some of these things out about me through my truth on this live, and never, never once question me about it, and always show me love regardless. I appreciate that to everybody that has been that way to me, even the ones of you that didn't even know. There's a lot of people that, didn't know how bad my addiction was. It wasn't for you to know, because I was a liar, you know what I mean? I hid and I did things and I stayed out of sight, when people were seeing me anyway. Hell, I didn't think nobody was seeing me, but they was. They was, and it was a lot of people that got clean before me that told the story, So that's something that I don't do, you know what I mean? Um, I don't tell people's business. You follow? If you want to share your business, it will be shared, here in the rooms, or to your pastors, or to whom you want. Things are confidential. If you say something is confidential, well, that's exactly what it's going to be. I've been working drug and alcohol for many years, and I don't bring people's business outside of there. You know what I'm saying? I don't. It could be the mother, it could be the sister, it could be the brother, it could be whomever. I do not bring people's confidentiality out of the my workplace, or if that's what you tell me this is, because I do sponsor people. You know what I mean? That's for you to want to tell your story and share your story. Again, like I said, I'm not in charge of you, and I'm not God. You know what I mean? Even if you do get it, you got it because you wanted it, and don't ever let anybody take your joy. Don't let anybody take your truth from you, because nobody can get you clean but you. You understand? This is what I'm saying to Miss Rosetta. We have to want it. We have to want it until we get it. And we have to accept this fight, because it's going to be a battle of your life. Believe me, it's going to be a battle of your life. That's why some gives up, because the battle, it's not yours, it's theirs. You follow what I'm saying? And it's so much pain, and shame, just imagine yourself, if you have no love in yourself, if you don't know how to make yourself feel good but one way, and that's dependent on drugs, or dependent on alcohol. You know what I mean? We have awesome lives. We have family gatherings. I'm just gonna quote on some things: Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all that. That stuff don't mean nothing. We know how to hope you give us something for Christmas, because we're gonna sell that shit. We we're gonna get rid of whatever that we can get rid of, just to satisfy the pain that lives within us, the monster that lives within us. It's just an awful thing. It's an awful disease to catch. And I want to tell everybody on here, it's lifetime. So if you're not doing it, don't do it. And if you are doing it socially, be careful, but always be aware. You know what I'm saying? Because the way that they making stuff today, and putting stuff in stuff today, even with the bottle closed and sealed and all that kind of stuff, is no joke. It's really no joke. I don't trust any of it. I don't trust none of it, because I see what it does, and I felt what it do. You know what I mean? And I know where it takes you. You follow what I'm saying? So just be, aware and be alive. I'm not telling anybody that, your fun is not like, it has to happen to you the way it happened to me. It's just 9 out of 10, most likely it do. But I'm talking for the ones that it does, and that it have, and that are still suffering, and just awareing the ones of you, that are still living that sociable life. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay. I'm not uh coming at you in any kind of way, because like I said, this type of thing is a choice. You have to just come to believe in it, you know what I mean, and just surrender that this is you. If not, keep doing what you're doing. I just know what I can't do, you know. But I hope you all have actually enjoyed this live. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'll probably be doing that a lot, y'all. But live is live. And sitting on this couch is the best thing. For me. To have anybody come to the couch. To share. So I am going to give that podcast a taste. And you're going to start seeing some new things. I'm stepping my game up a little bit, which starts on Saturday. I'm trying and I'm gonna get it there, but I'm not gonna break my brains to make this thing work right away. I'm gonna take it one day at a time, and do what I can do and get done what I can get done. But what I do know that it works this way because we on here, you know what I mean, and we bust it up, and we get what we need to get out of it, and I hope that anybody who wants to surrender, please do. Please do. And know that there's many numbers out here for help with drug and alcohol addiction. You know what I'm saying? There's rehabs out here that you can go to. There's no shame to going to a rehab. You even have psychologists that you can talk to because disease causes mental health. Definitely know that, and depression. You know what I mean? I could definitely say that. I never thought I had neither one, but I know that I did. When I started digging deep and coming to understand a lot of things, that was going on in my life and how I felt, worthless, you know what I'm saying? And all that, because I felt that way too. I just wore a mask so you couldn't see it, but I have unmasked myself and I can speak about it, today, and I give God the glory for that, that I really I don't have no shame to it. And Miss Stacy, don't think I don't see you back, because I do. And I'm waiting for you, because Miss Stacy is a powerful individual with information and education. I'm waiting for Miss Stacy to come on as well. You know, I can't wait to hear you come on and share. Hi, is that Deandra? How you doing? Thanks for being on. Stace, thanks for coming back on. Hey, Deborah, McNeil, how you doing? You said the Lord saved me and helped me. I thank God for his grace and mercy. Absolutely, absolutely. I do too. Absolutely. I do too. You know, um, Stacy said it's a battle for your life, for the rest of your life. Absolutely, Stace. That's what I'm telling them. That's what I'm trying to tell them. I'm giving all those suggestions, and telling them everything that I know. That's how I know you know. I know how you know because I could tell how you share. You know what I'm saying? So I know you know. You feel me? Because we have a language, that we understand. You follow what I'm saying? And I speak your language, as well as I feel you speak mine, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you for that, you know. Um, LJ, Nikki, hi. I thank you for what you do and being bold about what you do. It's appreciated. Hey, if this can help somebody else, somebody did it for me. You know what I mean? Somebody did it. In fact, a whole lot of bodies did it for me. You know what I mean? So, hey, why not? The truth is the light. The truth is love. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have any shame to my game, just like these people doing. I have a story that I tell and I share with y'all bits and pieces all the time. But honey, I heard some stories. You hear me? I heard some stories and they seem incredible. But the truth was sitting right in my face. You follow? The truth of the light was sitting right in my face. This thing works if you work it. It definitely works if you work it. Definitely works if you work it. You just gotta want to work it. That's all. You just gotta want to work it. Um, Let me see if I have somebody. I see you, Cynthia. You might be late, but you was outside. That's okay, because that's what you do. You know. Um, So I see we going in, into some time, y'all. I appreciate everybody being on. LC, thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll get back. And I'm gonna get you on the couch. That's what I'm gonna do. We ain't gonna have to, because you don't know and I don't know. We don't have to fool with this no more. Like I said, I will come get you, and you can sit on the couch and we can get this thing in once again. I appreciate all the sharing that you did do on here. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you trying, hard, you know, um, uh, uh, to continue on with this segment of Living in My Truth. I appreciate y'all. Show me some hearts. I'm going to send you some hearts because I love you and I appreciate it. I'm quite sure y'all see my heart on. Don't think I'm off the heart thing because I'm not. I love them hearts. You know, so, these hearts are to each and every one of you that has been on this live and has stayed on this live and always come on this live. You know, I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys next Wednesday. But before I forgot, before I go, don't forget that share this live once we're off it, please. You know, and if you haven't seen some of the episodes, they are on YouTube. Again, last week, you know, I was so in myself, so in my head. You know, last week I said Instagram. Once I watched the replay, I said a whole lot of things that was just like Tracy. I didn't even realize I said some of the things. You know what I mean? But uh, don't forget that the first anniversary for Tracy Allen Living in My Truth will be in June, on June 14th. The flyers will come out as well as tickets. I'm hoping that everybody that have shared on this live for me show up. If you want a table, you know, to bring, you know, have people come to. This is a real formal. It's going to be really nice. You know what I mean? And this is for you as well as it's for me and my appreciation to everybody. We will have guests. We'll have a podium of guests. We'll have entertainment. You know what I mean? We're going to eat, you know, and do all those things. So I don't want to tell you everything that's going to happen. I just want you to please come. You know, tickets are going to be $20, you know, and it's going to be an awesome, good time, you know, and it will be liquor free. It won't be any drinking, but it will be awesome, you know, virgin drinks, you know, not drinks, but juices that will be satisfying. Okay, so I thank you guys. Thank you so much. Y'all know my favorite prayer is the serenity prayer. It keeps me going every single day, and as God grants me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God's will, not mine. So I see you guys next week, and thank you.